The final part of this module number 2 is really all about user psychology. And I always find user psychology one of the most fascinating elements of user experience design. And just to reiterate what user psychology is, it's the scientific study of the human mind and its functions, especially this affecting behavior in a given context. So everything that can happen in a user's mind when they use your design. So it's just worth mentioning about intuitive design. So when users understand the effect of their own behavior without the use of reason, experimentation, assistance, or special training, you've got yourself intuitive design. So a user is just able to use your design, your product or service, or open your email, whatever it is, without even having to think about the process. And if you've created something that is intuitive, then that's ultimately what you're going to get. But what makes a product intuitive? And obviously there's a good example here of a product that isn't very intuitive. You're going to have a bad result as a result of using this type of product. And two examples of designing a door at a fundamental level. In the good design, you've got pull, and you've got a handle there, and in the bad design, which isn't so good, you've got push. And I see this all the time, and this is just introducing a concept called affordance. So customers or users expect to be able to pull something with handles and push something with a door plate, and in this particular instance, it's just not really been designed for purpose. Whenever you're thinking about sort of designing a product or service or email or campaign, and you're thinking about intuitive design, you always need to ask yourself three questions. So, what is it and what's it for? What's the benefit of having this particular thing? And what do I do? What do I do next? And the user kind of goes through this three-step process whenever they're interacting with your product or service. So the what doesn't necessarily mean equal the how, and it's just interesting to understand what makes a user experience or what makes an experience. So it's not only what people touch, it's what the user feels. So there's an emotional element. So what they actually genuinely want. Do they want an end thing? Have they got an end conversion point in their minds? What the user thinks, what the user believes, what the user remembers. Do they remember specific things? Do they associate your product or service with something positive or negative? And also there's a kind of an intangible at the end, and there's certain elements maybe that the user doesn't genuinely think about. But user psychology is really all about emotions, and you think about emotions, you think about what people are thinking, what people are doing. But there are ultimately two categories of emotion. It really comes down to gain and loss. So emotions are a reaction to something. They that they're not an end goal. That time tends to complicate emotion as well. So you can add sort of different time factors into the process as well. So it actually the emotion is actually what a user ends up doing. So there's just a little bit here about how people use different things, and when I feel lonely, when I feel hungry, when I feel unsure, anxious, lost, and mentally fatigued, what is it that I use? And when I'm lonely, I often go to Facebook, and I think about engaging with my friends online, perhaps. When I'm hungry, I maybe go to Just Eat or Hungry Horse or whatever it is online. When you're unsure, you maybe go to Google to do a bit of a search. When I'm anxious, maybe I fire off an email and ask some questions there. When I'm lost, I'll go to the GPS on my phone. And when I'm mentally fatigued, I'll tend to watch some trash TV, and that often makes me feel better. So again, just a little bit about user psychology there, and we're going to explore some other elements of user psychology later on in some additional modules.